How you going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to remove the subframe from your Mini. First thing you want to do is lock your steering. What I'm going to do is just mark on the steering column and on the knuckle there where it comes through. I'm just going to loosen off that bolt now. That's a 13mm bolt. Now, you've got to bear in mind that there's Loctite on this bolt, so it is quite difficult to unscrew. So just make sure that you put the Loctite back on this thread when it goes back on. And then you just pull that away like so. And now it'll be ready to drop down. So you just make sure this is locked because there's a clock spring in there, like steering angle sensors and what have you. And if you mess that up, it can really end up giving you fault codes and what have you. I will now remove the front wheels. Got to remove this track rod end here. That's an 18mm with a 5mm Allen inside it, just so that you can unscrew this and that ball joint will stay still while you remove it. I've also got a 16mm nut here on the drop link, same again with a 5mm Allen. So I'll just give everything a little spray with some penetrating fluid. While the penetrating fluid does its job, I'll just unclip the brake sensing cable. See this bottom drop link is connected to your anti-roll bar. So it's just a case of putting the 16mm wrench like so, putting the Allen bolt, Allen key inside to lock it in, and then you just simply anti-clockwise so I'll give this track rod end here a go first of all with my impact gun. If that doesn't work and it doesn't loosen off, then I'll need to use the wrench. You can actually use this ball joint splitter and put it in here and then hit this side with a hammer and then it breaks it away, but it also tends to break the rubber, and I don't want to damage this, so what I'm going to do is just hit this here and here with the hammer, and hopefully that'll free off. Put a little bit of penetrating fluid in there as well. And that's how easy it is. Now I just need to do the same on the other side. Put this nut back on so I don't lose it. I don't know what I've done with my 16mm ratchet spanner, so I'm having to do it the old-fashioned way here. The next stage now is to remove the bottom ball joints. They are 21mm nuts. Hopefully the camera's picking this up. I've actually marked around here on the wishbone here, just so that when I put this back together, that these go back in the same place. Because when you unscrew this, you'll notice that these are slotted so they can move in and out slightly, and that'll adjust your camber. So I just want to make sure everything goes back the way it was. What I'll do now is I'll just pull these out of the way. I'll just use this pry bar. And then I'll replace the nuts so I don't lose them. A lot of the people tend to take the front bumper off prior to dropping the subframe. But what I'm going to try and do today is I'm going to take the subframe out without removing the bumper. The next stage now is going to be removing this plastic under tray, both sides, and also the exhaust. Because as you can see here, the subframe is above the exhaust. So I'm just going to loosen this 12mm exhaust bolt here. Also a little Torx screw here at the very back. That's only if you're removing the full under tray. You don't really need to remove it all, but I'm just going to do it so it's out of the way. Now I'll need to drop this bracket here, this plate, prior to dropping the exhaust. Okay, now with the exhaust, all I'm going to do is just push through the bracket here. Push that through the rubber. Difficult doing it with one hand, but all you need to do is just pull that out. Move the exhaust back as you pull that up that way. And then all you need to do is just drop the exhaust. So I just need to try and get these rubbers out the back here. The rubbers on the rear exhaust hangers were a little bit tight, so I just used some water pump pliers to help me pull them through. At the rear of the subframe here, as you can see, there's 3 bolts there, E14 bolts. There's 3 of them on each side. In addition to the engine mount here, I've also got to drop that. That's a 60mm bolt that runs through that. I'll just drop these 4 bolts now on this front bar tube. They're 16mm. I'll just unscrew these 16mm. We've got 3 E14s on each side here at the rear, and then inside all the way up the top in there, we've got 2 E16s, one there and then one up in there. So I'll take the 2 E16 out. That's the bolt there. What I'll do now is I'll drop these ones at the back here. Just want to show you this here. This is the back of the vehicle. This is the back of the vehicle. As you can see, this is the electric steering rack here. We've got the cable here. And as you can see, this cable actually runs down and it runs all along the steering rack. So if I pull these up off the steering rack, that's going to give me a lot of slack. So the theory is I'll be able to drop this down a fair amount and then disconnect the cables there. The next stage is this fuel tube. This tube needs to come out here. I was getting mixed up. I thought I could be able to slide it out here, but it's these two bolts in here that we need to remove. There's one at the bottom there and one at the top. So there's a bolt here and then one at the top there. So once we remove the two bolts on each end, we should be able to slide this back. So we'll remove this panel out the way. That gives us better access to these two 13mm bolts. Once you start to drop the subframe, as you can see here, when we pull this out, we've just got to sort of lift it because we don't want to damage the bumper here. Same at this side, just got to be careful with these air conditioning pipes. As you can see, I've dropped it right down. And then these are the cables that are feeding the steering rack connections here, up there. So as I say, it's just a case of now just dropping this down and then I'll be able to get into the connections from the top once I drop this down a bit. On this turbo diesel model, I've got the fuel flow and return lines that are in the way here. So I'll just disconnect that. I think that's a 10, say that a 10 or a 13mm there. I'll unbolt that and then see if I can move these pipes away. So it's just a case of trying to pull this underneath the drive shafts here. So what I had to do is just pull this out here with a pick and then lift it up. And then there's another one at the back here. Same again, I just pushed there with the pick, pushed it up. I had to disconnect this fuel hose as well, just to get it down past this. So that's the wiring disconnected now. So in theory, this should just pull down and out, as I say. The drive shaft here, we just need to pull that back, and then this part of the subframe should be able to drop down and out. Okay, so now that the wiring's disconnected, there's nothing caught anywhere. We should be able to just pull this down and out towards me now. And there you have it, that's one subframe out of the car without having to remove the whole front end. A lot of people I've saw online remove the full front end. As I say, you don't need to do that. And that's it, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Take care.